want to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here today, the Schaedler Yesco team, as well as those of you in the room and those of you that are virtual. My name is Ryan Smiley. I've been in the industry now going on close to 15 years. I think around the 14-year mark. Held a variety of roles within the manufacturing side of the lighting and lighting controls industry. My current role is I am the sales leader for our O&I, R&H, or commercial business. What I'm here to talk to you about is sustainable technologies and emerging trends that have emerged from trends in the market today. I'm going to talk about, from the Signify perspective, as well as that of our partner, Schaedler Yesco, our vision, where we're focusing here in the future, and why they're a partner of ours. Part of that has to do with our 5 frontier strategy, which you see here. At the center of that is customer centricity. It's really a focus of ours as we move forward, making sure that we're easier to do business with, making sure that we enable our partners to be easier to do business with, and the like. Differentiated offers, which is a bit of what I'm going to talk to you about today. Growth for sustainability, which is a tie-in to that, and digitalization, as we all understand technology is becoming a more and more important aspect of our day-to-day lives. So the agenda, touching a bit on the values between Signify and Schaedler Yesco, the global industry trends that are driving us today, and then the innovation highlights that we're bringing to the market as a result of those trends. So with Signify, our purpose is to unlock the extraordinary potential of light for bringing brighter lives to a better world. Our goal within that is to become the undisputed leader in sustainable, connected lighting solutions as recognized by our customers and the market. I think that's a beautiful tie-in with that of Schaedler Yesco's, their own mission statement, which is to be a provider of complete connected solutions for the electrical industry, tying in lighting, datacom, automation, and industrial needs with integrity, reliability, and expertise. I think that's a perfect summation of how our values correlate and why we've partnered together. So now let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the world today. First, we've become an indoor generation. We spend approximately, on average, 90% of our time indoors. There are many implications to this, which we can get into, but the bottom line is there are effects to that, whether it be health, well-being, emotional effects, and all of those things that we're finding, science is finding, as a result of us being indoors. In addition to that, companies are realizing that people, who would have thought, people are the most important aspects of the organization. And thus they're learning that the health and well-being of their employees, their ability to show up happy, energetic, and participate on a day-to-day basis is increasingly important. In addition to that, there's more and more concern about our safety as we enter these spaces again, coming into more public environments. So not only are we trying to attract employees and customers and consumers back into these public spaces by giving them better experiences, but also we're trying to be more cognizant of the safety of those folks as they come in, because quite frankly, there's still concern out there with what's been going on in the world. Classrooms is another aspect of this. There's been a lot of debate and conversation about that trade-off of safety as well as social well-being when it comes to some of the safety requirements that have been enacted in institutions in the education space. So how can we add more layers of safety while also being cognizant of the social effects that many people have been acknowledging as a result of particularly young students not being able to see faces? That's one common example and thing that's been talked about in the world today. The government is looking to address this. So this was recently announced. President Biden and their administration is actually going to invest and provide funding for schools, for educational institutions to participate in this request for more safety actions in our spaces, whether that be reduction of contaminants in the air by means of certain technologies, cleaning in a more consistent manner that is up to certain standards, or the like. But the fact is that there's going to be money that's put behind this as well. I touched on the fact that 90% of our time is spent indoors, and there are many effects that are being recognized as a result of this. Behavioral, hormone production when we're talking about melatonin production at night and having bright blue light that we're exposed to. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, during the day, we need bright light in order for our circadian rhythm to be kicked in and for us to be able to have good experience in spaces. So in addition to the visual effects that we all know light provides, there are many other effects that we're finding, whether it be sleep, cognitive performance, mood, memory, and I mentioned hormones. And there's lots of evidence. This is just one example. The number one attribute in workplace environment, 47% of employees admit that they feel tired or very tired during the day in their offices. I think we can all relate. We're probably hitting that hour right now, many of us in the room. In addition, being immersed in nature or seemingly being immersed in nature in our indoor environments is being found that it actually improves our mood. So simply having, quite frankly, plastic trees in the corners, illuminating walls in ways that create a horizon effect, create biophilic type spaces that seemingly bring us back closer to nature and improve our mood. This is all tied in with multiple studies. In this case, this is a Harvard Business Review study that took on the key attributes that many employees and customers in spaces are hoping that those spaces will accommodate. Two of the top five tie in with exactly what we're looking to do at Signify and Schaedler Yesco, which is comfortable light and connection to nature, as I mentioned before. In addition to all that, we're connecting more devices in spaces. So with that comes more bandwidth needs with more devices. In addition to the more devices, the amount of data that we're using on a day-to-day basis is increasing. So exponentially, we are seeing a demand for more connectivity and more bandwidth, not only in interior spaces, but also when we're talking about smart city type applications and IoT outdoors. With that, we have a lot of distribution networks that have come online and into the market over the years, either wired or in many cases wireless, but there are also limitations within those spectrums. So with new technologies, how can we add to what we have today, the menu of options that we have today? So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done in the past and where we're going over the next few years and how that relates to what our goals are here in the future and moving forward. So from 2015 to 2020, we ran a 5-year program called Brighter Lives, Better World. The idea of this program was to make ourselves more of a carbon neutral company, so internally focused, as well as R&D spending that relates to the products that we bring to market and how we can improve the lives of our customers and their customers. As a result, we've received a lot of recognition for this. Probably the highest level recognition is our index on the Dow Jones Industrial Indices is one of the top. Actually, I think we're the only supplier in lighting and electrical that is even mentioned in that indices. So we are a leader, a standalone in the industry here in the US as well as globally. All of that ties in once again with our 5 frontiers strategy. So out of those, we have four key pillars that sit within this strategy. So climate action being one, circular economy being another, food availability, safety and security, health and well-being, and lastly, a great place to work, which is a key for our employees as well as our executive team, which relates to our customer centricity goals. How that lays out and more specifics within this Brighter Lives, Better World framework, We want to double the pace that we achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal of limiting the overall temperature increases in the world that we're seeing today. That is not internally focused, that's actually externally focused. We want as a globe to meet this goal. And so as a company, we're bringing on technologies in the hopes that that will enable us to meet those goals. We're going to attempt to double our circular revenues to 32% of the overall revenue that Signify has today. So that incorporates new technologies, which I will talk about, as well as new ways of doing business. We're attempting to double our Brighter Lives revenues as well. This ties in with the conversation of food availability, safety and security, and health and well-being. And we're also going to double the percentage of women that are in our workforce, as well as in leadership positions within the organization. So a little bit deeper in this, tying in with climate action, circular economy, safety and security, health and well-being, food availability, you'll see a number of different categories of products, services, types of business that we are attempting to get into, whether it be horticulture, new patented technologies such as AccuRender or meso-optics, but I'm only going to get into a few of them today with you. So just to level set on what we're talking about, what brands we're talking about here within Signify, it's our Genlight Solutions brand focus mainly. Whether it be Guardco in the outdoor space, resurrecting Alco as a brand in healthcare and bringing UVC technologies online, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. A brand new category of technologies with our Bright Sights and True Wi-Fi product lines, as well as enhancing what we have today within our Lidalite and Lidalear brands with Nature Connect and 3D printing, which I will talk to. So in short, we're indoors a lot. Employees, students, parents, and the public expectations of coming back into public spaces are extremely high. And in order for us to really get back to the world that we want to get back to, we got to meet those demands, and connectivity is king. So let's start off here talking a bit about what we're doing with respect to circular economy, and not only the products that we're bringing on to the market, but also the idea of circular services that tie in with these same products. So this is a category we're bringing into Lidalear. It's called our 3D printed luminaire product line or product category. If you'd like to, you can go ahead and use your QR code scanner and it'll take you to our configuration tool. The way that this product category is broken up is by application, and I'll talk to that in a little bit, where we have track form factors, we have high bay options, low or mid bay, more of a decorative type fixture, pendant in different options and categories as well, and cylinder options that are all pendant based, can be surface mount, recess mount, in a number of different ways. In fact, they also incorporate many of the lamp and luminaire technologies that Schaedler Yesco is already stocking today with us. So in many cases, this is an off-the-shelf / quick ship option for you and your customers. For track, we come in 3 different lumen package options, 4 different CCT options, and a number of color and form factor characteristics with respect to the surface of the luminaire itself. For beam spreads, and we also have the ability to adapt in addition to the Lidalear track that you might imagine. You can also utilize it with Halo and Juno track for retrofit. Really key to this and additional features that make this a product that you might be interested in. We have no minimum order requirements, no maximum order requirements. The fundamentals of 3D completely change the way that manufacturing has been done in the past. We don't have to do any tooling, so it does not matter to us whether you order one of one color or you order one of 10 different colors. We can adapt and we can provide you with the right product at the right time with the right customization very quickly. In fact, I should also touch on the fact everybody here in this room, and hopefully those that are virtual, our factory right here in the United States is located just about 2 hours drive away in Littlestown, Pennsylvania. So not only is the product USA made, it's Pennsylvania made. So getting into a little bit further the product line, our low base series comes in 2 different form factors, a large 16-inch circumference and a smaller 12-inch circumference option. As you can see, a little bit different from the previous product. This one has actually a double layer, so you can have an outer color separate from the inner color. You can also create different shapes and images on the interior portion of the product to give it extra texture and pizzazz. As you can see, many different color options. Talking about form factors, there's different form factors for the reflectors. So if you'd like to create a different effect within the interior portion of the product, you can do that. Many different lumen packages as well as CCTs, and all of them at 90 CRI, so high quality light as well. Here's a look at our Pendant series. This is the RD. 27 standard color options that are available right on the configuration tool, so it'll be hard. I mean, you can really make your customers feel as if they have a custom solution that you're providing them. That's really the goal of this product line, in addition to the flexibility and, quite frankly, the lack of need to inventory many products. Because we can ship and manufacture in real time, it makes this solution that much more palatable to many customers. So here's a look at some of the customers that we have won over with the solution so far today. Many of them in the retail and hospitality space. Total Wine loved the idea of having the high bay product in a color that aligns with their branding. So that was one of the keys to winning their business. Caesars, in a very similar scenario, wanted a product that was customizable, provided high quality light, dimmability, and gave them the option to incorporate their logo and the logos that they'd like to add, which is another feature that we can incorporate. So if you have customers that really want to make it quite custom to what their solution is, we can even put their logo on the product as well. That's exactly what we did with Exponential Fitness. Providing them with logos not only on our BAL series, but on the track product itself. And then lastly, Walmart, another key customer win. In addition to the configuration tool, we have a full set of spec sheets that are pre-configured, pre-set up. We also, within that tool, it'll create you a custom cut sheet so that your customer knows exactly what the product was that they ordered. They can then reorder down the line, have the same form factor, same characteristics. All right, so 3D printing, I'm gonna ask if there's any questions in the room before I move on. Right on, okay. So next up, so one aspect of product, and I should have said with 3D, the circular economy story is really the key here. The idea that this product line, the idea is customization, but also the goal of this is actually to take plastic out of landfills. And our goal, one recent thing that we did, we actually came out with a product that we recycled fish nets from the ocean and incorporated them into our PD luminaire design. So this form factor in kind of a creamy ocean green, and all of that with recycled fish nets. So we're looking to actually take plastics out of landfills, out of the oceans, and find ways to utilize them in spaces and renew and refresh what was once old. All right, so Nature Connect. Really, the idea here is to incorporate what we were talking about, those biophilic design principles, through dynamic lighting in your indoor spaces. As you can see on the top right, this is an example of the product going through the day and night rhythm as it would throughout the day for you and if it were in your space. And then a look at some of the key, I guess, scenes that you would be able to go to if you were in the space. So once again, this is a dynamic system that incorporates daylight panels that are part of our one space system. These are actually artificial skylights that are 80 CRI. They look and feel as if they are real skylights. And then a lightscape to provide that layers of lighting effect, as well as a horizon effect that mimics what you might see in the horizon if you were looking out towards the sun. Here are some of the specifications of the product. If you're interested, all of the different variations are at 90 CRI within the different color spectrums that we're operating at. So a very high efficiency and high level system. In addition to the biophilic effects that are in principle designed with the system, there are also real tangible benefits when talking about stretch codes. One of those, you may or may not know, the Wellbuilding Standard. The whole idea of this standard is health and well-being in spaces. The whole layout is designed around human well-being in the space, as opposed to that of what you may be familiar with leadership in environmental design, which was more focused on materials and sustainability within the building and built space. This is strictly about health of folks in the space. So we can provide, within the framework of WELL, 14 points across the different characteristics of that product. So just by adding Nature Connect to one space, it would bring you from a WELL bronze to a WELL silver building just by incorporating this into your design. Here's a look at conference room example. I'll show a couple of customer examples here, before and afters. So these are in Europe. The commonality with all of these spaces is there's no natural light coming in at all. So they're all completely enclosed spaces. But you can really notice, I mean, going from downlights above a conference table to Nature Connect, just how it brightens up the space. And really, it does make you feel like you are outdoors when you're underneath this canopy. Here's another before and after. This was a customer in Canada that was looking to uplift and retrofit their existing space. This was a building that had no exterior windows whatsoever and incorporated this. Their employees, the photographer actually that did the before and after drawing or pictures, commented at the huge difference that they felt coming into this new space with Nature Connect. All right, so talked a bit about circular services, circular design, and the circular economy, biophilic design, how we're trying to incorporate that into the products that we come to market with. Now a bit about safety and security. How can we help the public feel more safe coming into common spaces together again? And one of our solutions is the idea of incorporating UVC technology more commonly in spaces. Now, why UVC is a disinfectant? One, obviously reduce the risk of exposure for office workers and their visitors. Make office workers and visitors feel more protected. The idea of layers of protection just as well as layers of light when we're talking about lighting design. Enable business continuity and prevent excessive time with chemical exposure. I touched on what the Biden administration is doing with respect to funding and investment in making us all feel safer in our spaces. But here's the actual technology. So this is one example of our upper air UVC luminaires. So these are products that would sit in the space right there in the ceiling. And the idea being that as the air is circulated, it is also disinfected. These are great products to install in common office applications, classrooms, corridors, all of those different types of applications would be great. In addition, this touches on the fact that there is a specific UL designation now. As COVID hit, there was no certifications whatsoever. So we had to work directly with UL, directly with many different certification bodies to come up with a way for us to standardize the installation as well as the commissioning of the system to make sure that it's safe for those that come into the space. So I mentioned layers of light, layers of protection. This is just some examples of how we accomplish that. So on the far left, these would be considered our upper air disinfection technologies. The idea is that these can be active in the space while people are also in the space. So as we're talking, we're conversating, air is flowing around us, those luminaires, as the air hits that UV layer, whatever germs, whatever viruses may be in that air would be deactivated by the UV disinfectant technology. In addition, we can also do surface disinfection, which incorporates the idea of controls. So really this is a holistic solution that you would not want to be in the space when it's functioning, but the idea is that you're actually disinfecting actively the entire space while people are out of it, limiting the amount of chemicals that you're utilizing and improving the efficiencies with which you can eliminate viruses and bacteria on surfaces. And then lastly, with equipment, we have UVC chambers that can be utilized. If you want to pop your cell phone, laptop, disinfect those types of devices for, once again, an added layer of protection, we have those available as well. This is talking about that control system solution. This is part of that whole UL certification. So in order for us to implement a surface disinfection type technology, we have to make sure that we have fail-safe controls that ensure that nobody's in the space while it is functioning. All right, so from disinfection, health and well-being, safety and security, now we're gonna touch on connectivity. So what are new ways that we are going to get connected in spaces here in the future? Sorry, that was a little loud. So the radio spectrum does not necessarily provide enough room for expansion in the future. Quite frankly, as you can see from this slide, it's getting pretty crowded in the radio spectrum space. I think many people are probably aware of how airlines had concerns around the new 5G technologies being implemented and them interfering with their communications. That's just one small example. So with this increased need for bandwidth, increased need for new communication types, how can we adapt to this? On top of the fact that it's getting crowded, there are also concerns with technologies like Wi-Fi and hacking, things of that nature. Because quite frankly, if I'm using Wi-Fi in this space, I could also be using it in the parking lot. You don't necessarily have to physically be in the room for Wi-Fi to be accessed. So our answer is that lighting can provide an additional spectrum of bandwidth that is not being utilized at all today, but can be here in the future. So our answer is a technology and a product that we're calling True Wi-Fi. The idea here is we're utilizing IR transceivers, which means they're speaking and receiving. They're communicating both ways. Today, utilizing a dongle at the computer level, and then utilizing devices that are in the ceiling that directly communicate back and forth. Here the idea is increased speed The speed of light is much faster than the speed of sound or radio waves. Increased security, because I physically have to be underneath that light in order for me to have and maintain a connection. And also reliability. It offloads the bandwidth on your hard Ethernet cabling. It reduces the bandwidth of that of your Wi-Fi network and allows you to incorporate increased overall bandwidth within your system without many more new devices. So this just adds to the layers of technology that we are incorporating within our luminaires today. So whether it be, simply talking about LED technology, the idea of being able to dim up and down, create tunable solutions, incorporate sensor technologies like Interact. True Li-Fi is one more layer of value that we can provide to your customers with respect to lighting. Here are some examples of common applications where we've seen it applied today. And I didn't really hint at it, but in addition to normal working spaces, this is also a great technology to utilize in industrial machine-to-machine communication, especially when you have issues running cable or you have issues with communication because radio waves are not an answer in your space. Here's some examples of products that we can provide today, quick ship, and incorporate this True Li-Fi technology. All right, so we talked about connectivity inside. Now I'm going to touch on connectivity outside. We introduced the BrightSites product line about five or so years ago, and the basis of this was really around the idea of the smart city. How can we enable the smart city to occur? One thing that municipalities, cities, federal agencies have commonly said is that, we want to provide more internet access, we want more Ethernet cable everywhere for folks, but how do we accomplish this? The challenge is, quite frankly, it's cost. That's one of the biggest challenges. So how can we help to enable, through efficiencies, smart city type technologies to come online? So what we've done at Signify is come up with an ecosystem solution that incorporates the idea of smart poles, which have been around for a long time now, and pulling in a new type of product called the broadband luminaire, which enables connectivity without the need for trenching, which is quite costly. So once again, the idea of layers. So this is an example of a typical smart pole grid that you might see in any city out in the world. This might look familiar if you're from the Bay Area. I think this is the San Francisco skyline. So we've got the light pole grid. Many cities and municipalities are looking at value-added technologies like touchscreens to help folks with wayfinding around the city. We all have phones, but in addition to that, if you don't have your device readily at hand, having places that folks can understand where to go to if they're tourists. In addition to those types of waypoints, we also want to identify areas where the smart pole technologies can be implemented in an easy sense from the perspective of we've already done trenching, we have that basis and capability built within the city today. Where can we easily access those areas and implement the types of cameras, Wi-Fi waypoints, things of that nature that many cities are trying to tie in? And then lastly, once you've done that, how can we layer upon so that we can increase the overall bandwidth that we have within the city overall? So our solution is twofold. One is incorporating technologies that provide the city with active information to help them service their products that they have in the field today in a simple and easy way. And that's through our Interact platform, which incorporates the idea of metering, measurement, and serviceability. We have products like the service tag, which enables and provides GPS location directly to the pole luminaire product that you have, as well as you can send us at Signify exactly what product you have in the field. Whether or not we have it in inventory, we can immediately begin to produce it so that you don't have a product that's out for a long time out in the field. In addition, we can also notify of when a product is about to go out, or with the idea of life cycle analysis that we've incorporated into the technology as well. With BrightSight specifically, I mentioned the idea of touchscreens and smart hubs, smart poles, and the broadband luminaire is really what creates the ecosystem type solution that is completely differentiated from our competitors in the market today. So you're not forced to trench into the ground to provide Ethernet connection pole to pole. We can buttress it with wireless technology utilizing 5G millimeter wave technology built within the luminaire itself, so that there's no additional devices that need to be slapped on the side of buildings or on the side of the pole itself, as is the case in many businesses. So you can create a uniform look throughout your city that also is within the themes that you've created with the normal luminaires and pole tops that you have. So just to reiterate on the trends that we touched on, we're indoors a lot. Employees and parents and students we all have high expectations coming back into public spaces. So how can we create new and different experiences, as well as make people have the feeling of safety when they're coming into those spaces? And here in the future, connectivity will be king. Thank you for the time. If there's any questions, open for questions right now. Other than that, thank you very much for the time today.